We have one answer.
Sorry, I just ate chocolate. My first question. Do I really have time? I literally just ate chocolate. That's so bad. And I have an apple. My first question is.
Next.
You guys have changed my life in the last several months in ways that I mean, huge ways. And I have learned I am a very powerful thinker, manifester. And so I'm just learning how to use it in good ways as opposed to worry and fear. I'm using it for good things and for health. And
sometimes people talk about wanting to use law of attraction, and we say it's sort of like you use gravity. You don't really use it. You just sort of respond to its powerful presence. And so that's what's going on here. Just figuring out how to deliberately and consciously work within the laws of the universe as they exist. We call it going with the flow. Yeah.
But the allowing part, we are all so.
Now don't make a statement that holds you in a place you don't want to be.
Well, I have one deep-seated.
There's nothing. Here's the thing, and we will hear you out,
okay.
But we just want to get this sort of settled here. There's nothing deep-seated. It's just continually practiced.
Yeah.
It's not deep-seated. It's just active. And usually you want to say, well, the reason it's active is because it's deep-seated. And we say, no, the reason it's active is because you keep bringing it forward. It's not deep-seated. The deep-seated stuff would have no impact on your life at all if you weren't bringing it forward and keeping it active now. Nothing is deep-seated in the way that you mean it. Good to know. I've got this deep-seated belief. I mean, I've got a belief that doesn't serve me that I keep talking about and I keep bringing it forward into my now. It's not deep-seated, it's just active. And why is it active? Because I keep saying it. I keep talking about it.
Yeah.
I keep it active by my attention to it. Period. It's very simple, isn't it?
So continue to work on choosing different thoughts and choosing different words.
Continue to continue to want to feel good, and in finding vibrations that feel good, be in the receptive mode of good thoughts. There's a difference there. Can you hear the difference? In other words, I'm going to choose something simple that is easy for me to feel good about.
Yeah.
And because I feel good, which means I'm in the receptive mode, now good thoughts will now be received by me. That's different, isn't it? If somebody says, do you think good thoughts? It's like, but if someone says to you, be nice to yourself so that you're in the receptive mode of good thoughts, whole other thing.
Yeah.
Now, so what you just said to us before, don't apologize, we're talking all over the top of you. What you just said before is, I've been in the receptive mode of worrisome thoughts.
Yeah.
That's all. You're getting this, aren't you?
Yes, recently some things have bubbled up again where I have moved through it.
Recently,
before.
I turned my attention to things that were formerly inactive and caused them to be active. So the universe delivered them to me in a way that I could see them and make some new decisions about them.
Yeah.
Benevolent universe that it is. Law of attraction is so good to me. Law of attraction will show me in detail what I've got going on vibrationally.
Yeah. So are we able to manifest for others?
Well, now you're talking about the power of influence. So you can assist others in their manifestation to the degree that you're able to see where they want to be and not see them where they are.
Okay. And that does influence.
Well,
because if they're not open, I mean, doesn't it matter how receptive they are?
Well, the nice thing about the way you have framed this, it is a perfect question. So do you accept that all of you have an inner being?
Yes.
And do you accept that your inner being is offering its power of influence to you all the time?
100%.
and yet sometimes you're not in the receptive mode.
100%, yes.
So put yourself in the same category as someone's inner being. You are, let's say that you have really done a good job of feeling good, and now almost everyone that you hold as your object of attention, you hold in a positive light. You feel good when you think about them. Well, their receptivity still is about them, not about you. But you see, what makes you want to think that, and we understand it, is that most humans are trying to evoke from others behavior. In other words, if you see, it seems like it would be a nice thing for us to say to you, get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and hold others as your object of attention once you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And they will benefit by your gaze upon them. And it's true, they will. But we really don't want to teach them to need your gaze for them to be in the receptive mode. And that's what's happened to a lot of you. When you were little, those who loved you held you as their gaze, and you got a lot of support from them that they could not continue to provide, because you grew up and you went away, and they didn't hold themselves in vibrational alignment anyway. So when you are dependent on each other for alignment, you always let each other down.
So that goes into
let everybody off the hook.
I'm sorry.
Let everybody off the hook.
What about our children? Part of the reason why I was like, me, my children.
No, you were like, no.
No, I was starving. I know, chocolate-covered almonds. I mean, hello, it's breakfast of champions. My children, my son specifically, I have a 4 and a 2-year-old, and they're so powerful, and I can tell, and I want to teach them in the most gentle and overly aggressive way about their inner being and about source. And
well, if you don't get in the way, their inner being and them will be friends forevermore.
Yeah.
In other words, just don't do that thing that parents sometimes do that keeps their children from knowing their power and their clarity and their value. Don't show them how often they are wrong.
Yeah.
Let them know how often they are right.
Okay. But we have talks at night. My son and I he's very cerebral, and so he processes everything and he thinks about everything, and I try and teach him about that feeling, his guidance system. And I just want to make sure, I just think it's so, like if my mom did that, my parents are amazing, they did a great job. But if I had that, I feel like my path would have been slightly different. And I know I'm really happy with the way it,
So what is it that you want your children to know?
I want them to know how powerful they are. I want them to know that they can now.
So do you want them
create.
Do you want them to know how are you ever in a position where they have behaved in a way that you find inappropriate?
I mean, I'm sure.
And so,
I'm sure
and so in those moments when you have found them inappropriate, are you wanting them to know that they are wrong and you are right?
Well, in a constructive way, I would like them to know that.
Blah, 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 blah. So what you're saying is, sometimes you want them to listen to you
Yes.
rather than to their own guidance system. And if you get too carried away with that, in time, they will forget about their guidance system and they will look to you and others like you. And which is what brought you to the question, what can I do in order to help them to know who they are? And we say, don't take on that responsibility. Let their inner being is right there with them. If you will speak in loving support of their guidance, that is the most significant thing that you could ever do for anyone.
So what words could you choose in a situation where you had an opportunity to have a conversation?
Give us an example of something that's going on.
At night when we do our prayers and I talk about, whatever comes up for the day.
Well, we would say if you're in the middle of a prayer or beginning a prayer, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would say, the prayers that are the best are prayers of appreciation. Because when we are appreciating, we are tuned to all of that good stuff. And then we are in the receptive mode of being able to see all of the wonderful answers to prayers that are being offered. But if we are in a place of really needing something and we're praying like begging and whining and complaining and pleading, then even though our prayers are being answered, we're not in the place to hear it. That's the best prayer conversation to have with anyone. What else?
One last thing. Back to manifestation and
But
allowance.
continue this question. How can you guide them toward their alignment? You said...
Well, part of our conversation, I try and teach him mostly because my 2-year-old is a little small to understand, but that his feelings
matter,
are really important, and that they will guide him, and that I am here to help him through them if it's hard for him to talk about them, but they're really important.
So, for example, a feeling that he is explaining to you that is important.
He is a first child, so he has that perfectionistic kind of
blah 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 blah
well
blah.
So I just try
you are superimposing all of that on him. In other words, you are
but
seeing that, and
he gets filled up
this
with
is what we
this.
want. This is, we want to hear examples of what he is living, not your interpretation of what they are and why they are there. Want to hear
Example of what he's living.
what's he experiencing that you are wanting to soothe.
Just acceptance
from
of,
who?
Of himself. I think he feels frustrated.
But how does that manifest? You're deciding that it's acceptance of himself, and maybe it is. But how are you coming to that? What's happening that you're talking with him about, and what's he saying?
He verbalizes that he has expectation of others and how they should be, and if it doesn't go that way, he feels in charge of it. Like he feels like he has to.
So he is already at that early age living conditional love. He wants what he wants. He believes that if they do it the way he wants them to do it, that he will feel better. But he can't control them, so he doesn't feel good. So his discomfort is he thinks that in order to feel good, he has to do something that he can't do. So he holds himself in that. Sound familiar to anybody? And he's 4?
He's almost 5.
Interesting though, isn't it? So what would you like him to understand? What do you wish that you knew then that has taken you a while to what don't you want him to know that
he's loved?
Oh, of course you want that. But we're talking about this specific situation where there's somebody doing something that he doesn't like, and he's upset about it because he can't.
Well, but I tell him that he's in charge. You're in charge of you. That's what I tell him, is that you are in charge of you. You listen to your heart, you listen to your feelings.
So you're in charge of you. But what else do you want him to know? Don't you want him to know that there will always be someone doing something that will make him unhappy? And he's just got to decide that he can walk around be unhappy about all the things he can't control, or he can look at things that make him feel good and not keep himself held vibrationally active in things he can't control. In other words, don't you want to know that yourself? And when you like the little guys to start off knowing that?
Yes.
And so what happens and so words don't teach. So what happens when he doesn't do something that you expected him to do? Does he have responsibilities and chores?
A couple.
Is there anything that he does on a sort of regular basis that you're trying to train him to do differently?
Yeah.
For example?
He'll like throw himself on the floor. If he's in a certain mood, he'll just he's not articulating his feelings. He's just throwing himself on the floor as opposed to saying Mom, I'm feeling very...
So, and what happens to you when he does that?
I just get down to his level and I look at him and say, is there anything I can help you with? How are you feeling? It looks like you have something you need to say.
Well, what we would demonstrate, because what you're demonstrating with that behavior is your happiness matters to me.
Okay.
And I see that you're not happy. So we need to work this out. You and I need to control this condition so that you can feel better, so that I can feel better. That's the way that's translating.
Okay.
And really, whether you admit it or not, that's what's happening. You're trying to get him to feel better.
Well,
so
actually,
that
I
you
just
can-
want to validate his whatever's happening for him. I want to hear what's happening for him.
But here's the thing. Why would you want to validate a vibration that isn't working for him?
No, you're right.
Why would you want that's what makes you call them core. That's why people call them core
issues, yeah.
rather than just active. So what we're saying is, if you're really wanting to teach to the clarity of your example, when he's experiencing something and therefore he's a condition in your life that isn't the way you want it to be, because you want him to be happy and he isn't. So when you get right down there into his unhappiness, what you demonstrate for him is that it is a conditional world, and in the same way that you're down there trying to help him soothe something, he needs to get right in there and try to soothe things, and that is a path of enormous resistance.
Okay, so what should I do? I mean, I hear you.
So give your attention, validate his connection, and do not validate his disconnection.
What would you say in that instance
So
to validate his connection?
Well, so what is validation? Is validation vibration? Is validation, what's validation? Words?
I mean,
Words?
Yeah.
Attention is validation. If you give him attention when he is feeling bad, you are validating his disconnection. If you give him attention when he is feeling good, you validate his connection. So what you want to do, if you want to be the ideal parent, treat him like his inner being does. Always flowing your positive expectation, but not negatively reacting if he's not there. Think about it. His inner being is right there with him, and he can't hear his inner being.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, well, I need to help him hear his inner being.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help him hear his inner being. It validates that he's not hearing his inner being. You see what we're getting at?
yeah.
So you want to be there in every moment that you can that he's feeling good, and sort of be scarce. We're not saying take your eyes off of him. We're saying take your worrisome eyes off of him. We're not saying take your love away from him. We're taking your, in the moment, not feeling love, but feeling angst or something else away from him. Demonstrate what his inner being demonstrates. Always loving him. But you see, here's the thing. Your inner being doesn't get in there and try to manipulate your experience. Your inner being just holds steady the vibration of your success. So steady that eventually you're going to find a way to find it. You see, you said, I'm so happy I've met you, Abraham, and my life has changed in so many ways. Well, it wasn't what we brought to you. You found your way to who you really are, you see. It wasn't us asserting our knowledge into your experience. You found some vibrational frequencies that were in line with who you really are and came into alignment with who you really are. Your children are closer to their connection than any of you are. And yet, those who are often nowhere near alignment are down there trying to lead them into alignment. And so the conditional world, it's interesting because your conditional world sort of works for you when you're able to stand on your head in some way that makes someone happy. But then your conditional world doesn't work so well for you when you can't stand on your head in enough different ways to make them happy. And what we want to say is, stop standing on your head for others and expect their cork to float, and just don't be part of the reason that they're holding it under the water. And that's enough. Just don't be part of the reason that they're holding it under the water. So if we were standing in your physical shoes and you saw somebody not, we would never walk up to anyone and say, what's wrong? Are you kidding? What's wrong? Why do you ask? Well, you just don't look like you're feeling all that good. Really?
Can you walk up to him and just say, I love you and I'm here for you?
You can, but you're still validating their disconnection. You're still,
As a mom,
you're
though,
still
that's so-
demonstrating.
So just stand there and hold the vibration and just stand there when that's happening? Any words?
Are you implying that there aren't so many wonderful times that he's engaged and happy? In other words, when he's engaged and happy, throw your arms around him. When he's having a very good time, when he says something, when he's experiencing something wonderful, when you know he's tuned in, tapped in, turned on, validate that. Get in on that. But don't try to soothe what's not working, because you don't soothe it, you validate it. You emphasize it. You add power to it. This is the law of attraction. This is the law of attraction. And so if he is causing you to feel a way and you're responding from any feeling other than love, your attention to it isn't helping.
So I can respond, though.
You cannot feel love and worry in the same moment. That's all we're saying.
Okay.
So you gotta. So let's say that you've gone to bed and your momentum has stopped, and when you awaken in the morning, you made your list of positive aspects. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You're feeling really, really wonderful. And for whatever reason, your 5-year-old, nearly 5-year-old, is having a no good, very bad day. So. But you're tuned in. You had enough momentum going that his bad day is not a condition that's upsetting you. Mm-hmm. So you can move around in his experience all you want. In other words, you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You're loving him unconditionally. Your love for him has nothing to do with the bad mood that he is in. And so you're not responding to his bad mood because you're not in the receptive mode of his bad mood. You're in the receptive mode of your love and your clarity and your power and your parenting. You're in the receptive mode of his inner being. You're in the receptive mode of all good things. So you look at him, he's having a bad day, but he doesn't look like he's having a bad day to you because you're like your inner being and you're like his inner being. You're having a wonderful day. And he's just a kid having a moment, and it's no big deal. And you don't need to get down in the middle of it and validate it and understand it and get him to express it. Please don't do that. Okay. Don't add emphasis to the stuff that you don't want him to experience more of. Just keep knowing his power and knowing his clarity. Unconditionally, you know it because that's what you've practiced most. You haven't practiced worrying about him. You haven't practiced watching his every move. Children would like you to go away and leave them alone. The parental scrutinization that's happening today has children in a spotlight where they can almost not breathe. We're surprised that they're not all on drugs to block you out.
It's true.
So what you want to do is get tuned into who you are first. So you might not make it till noon before it goes south, but tomorrow, wake up and begin again, and wake up and begin again until you begin to notice that your clarity is not challenged by his behavior, that your happiness, that you're not worried about him, and you will begin to then notice the power of your influence, because you will begin demonstrating to him that you're happy regardless of what he's doing, which means he can be happy regardless of what Johnny on the playground is doing, regardless of, in other words, you're not the solver of his problems
or anybody else's.
His inner being is there for him at all times, and so you can't help him find his inner being if you're always taking the place of his inner being and doing it screwy.
Yeah.
See? So you have to ask yourself, when you feel negative emotion, what does it mean? You're looking at something different than your inner being is. When he feels negative emotion, what does it mean? He's looking at something differently than his inner being is. You want to get down there and validate that in any way? We know you want to soothe. That's the role of an inner being. That's our complete intention in every conversation that we ever have. We want to soothe you into who you really are and what you really know.
Yeah.
You're a really good mother, and you care a lot about their well-being, and you have lots of really good instincts. Your instincts are really keen most of the time, because most of the time you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on. But we're not having a conversation about those times. We're having a conversation about what to do when you're not tuned in. And you think it's a conversation about what to do when they're not tuned in. But that's not the conversation we're hearing. This conversation is, what do I do when they're having a problem and I am feeling uncomfortable and feeling like I need to fix the problem? And we say, take a nap. Children, it's nap time, not you, me.
Trust me,
Carry on and play. The doors are locked, just don't go outside. I'm taking a nap.
Trust me, I do.
No.
And allowing, I'm trying to master the art of allowing.
But begin by asking yourself, what is it that you are allowing?
There's just a few aspects. I'm really good in some aspects. Like,
but wait. It's confused. A lot of people are confused about this. What you're allowing is your alignment, period. That's all. Allowing isn't tolerating. Allowing isn't putting up with something. Allowing is, I'm allowing my connection even though you're having a fit. I'm allowing my connection even though money is tight. I'm allowing myself to feel good even though there are conditions in the world that if I were to focus on them, I would feel bad. I'm allowing myself to tune to the frequency of well-being even though the potential of not tuning to the frequency of well-being is rampant around me.
And is it normal to bounce around? Because I feel like there are days where I'm like, things are brighter and I'm in it. I'm in the vortex. Like I have had some days recently where I'm like, holy, like I am in it.
Right.
You know? And I want more. And I milk it, like
Well,
you say to milk it.
Of course, once you've tasted that, Esther is calling herself a vibrational snob in that way, because once you've experienced that profound clarity, confusion will never do. Yes, it is normal to bounce around in it while you are figuring it out.
Okay.
And the powerful benefit of that is that it's helping you to find your balance. It's helping you to recall what you want. In other words, whenever you're focused in a way that you don't feel good, that rocket to feel good is stronger. You can't get this wrong, but you can hold yourself unnaturally and unnecessarily in the momentum of negative emotion longer than you want to. And so it's just a matter of, you got to get really selfish. You got to care first and foremost about feeling good. And for someone like you see, we could say to you, in fact we just did, you can't really help your child unless you're tuned in. Mm-hmm. So there are some mothers that will say, all right, I'll do it for my children, which is the wrong reason. A woman we met, sitting in the hot seat, hated where she lived, put up with it for a long time, till the rules changed and her cat could no longer live in the apartment. So she was sneaking it around, taking it out at night. Became very burdensome to try to hide this cat from the apartment manager. And so finally she moved. And we said, oh yeah, you'll move for your cat. You never liked that place. You never liked that place. And so most of you are sort of trained to believe that you're not supposed to do it for you, but you are. If you're not selfish enough to tune to the frequency that feels really good to you, then you don't have anything to give anyone.
No, I know, I love that.
Yeah.
How does that apply to collective consciousness? How, with all of the negative things happening in the world, which I block out, I don't watch TV, I don't read the newspaper because it affects me, my vibration.
Then how do you know there's negative things in the world?
But there is, because there is. I mean, there's things that I can't read or do or see.
Just now when you said all the negative things in the world that I block out, and we say,
I do live in the world. I know, but it's not a part of my specific space. But how does how much do we have an effect on collective consciousness?
Well, instead of talking about all of the things that could potentially get in the way of my receptive mode meaning my alignment with who I really am. Instead of talking about what could get in the way of it, let's talk about the receptive mode. It really is as simple as that. Rather than saying, how do I, you see, because when you say I'm blocking out, we say, no, you're not. You're not. You might be preventing yourself from seeing that or that or that, but you're not blocking it out.
Just not giving attention.
You're not. Well, you are giving attention to it because you're blocking it out.
Well, no, I'm not.
You're giving attention to this collective thing that you're blocking out, which means it's active in your vibration. Resistance is there. In other words,
that resistance.
You see, it's like this. This is a universe based on attraction. There's no exclusion. So when you say no to that thing I do not want, I'm blocking it out. You're not saying no, you're saying yes. Because you're acknowledging its existence, you're acknowledging that it's big, you're acknowledging that it's sort of after you, and that you're blocking it out. And we say, no, you're not blocking it out. You are carving a pathway without even meaning to. So we know this is annoying, but what it comes down to is recognizing that every subject is really two subjects, wanted and not wanted. And you can tell by the way you feel whether you're leaning in the direction of the wanted or the unwanted. And when you use words like blocking, you are leaning in the direction of not wanted. It just is.
So stay in the want.
So lighten up, accept that you live in a world of diversity and balance and variety, and bless this world, because out of it you have carved your ideas of who you are and what you want, which are dominant. Acknowledge that the source within you is wrapped all around all of that you want, and is looking to you and through you for the fulfillment of all of it. Acknowledge that it doesn't matter what negative or contrasting components helped you come to those conclusions. They are non-issues now because they did their work. You've launched the rocket. It has become a vibrational reality. The source within you is there, offering the vibration of that reality in such a powerful way that if you're not doing that thing you do by trying to block that you will find yourself in a vibrational place where you will receive inspiration, and the vibration of it will turn to a thought and an emotion, and then to words, and then to behavior, and then to material objects. Don't you like knowing that?
Yeah. I do. I love it. I wish I'm just working on trusting myself with all of it. There's aspects
here's
of it
the
that
thing.
I got.
You can't get it wrong, because the universe isn't going to change rules on you. Law of attraction isn't going to suddenly...
I can change my point of attraction, though.
Law of attraction isn't going to suddenly start behaving differently. So you're going to come to understand the effectiveness of what you're doing by what happens in response. And by that we mean by how you feel. You're right. When you get on that run of clarity where you say, holy crap, look what's going on around me. All kinds of manifestations are happening. You can feel that you have allowed momentum to get moving enough that all things around you are cooperating with you. And that is the powerful, natural feeling of who you are. That's the way life is supposed to feel to you. And when you're worried about something or fussing about something, you can feel yourself all pulled apart, and it feels like it's that one's fault and that one's fault and that one's fault. All it is you've lost focus. You've lost your connection to who you really are, and let other things sort of come in. Well, there's no harm in that, because the worst thing and the best thing that happens out of that is that you shore up your desire in a stronger way. And the worst thing and the best thing that happens in that is that you're aware that you're not a vibrational match to it. And when you find your way back to alignment with something that contrast has helped you to create, oh, there's impetus and momentum in that. None of you want absence of contrast. You all want to keep figuring it out. You're an evolving being. The thing that you do, and we are a catalyst to it here in this conversation, because it feels to you like we're in corrective mode. But here's the thing that we most want you to hear about this. You never get it done, and you can't get it wrong. And lightening up, not holding yourself to such strict standards, is really what we desire for you. We want you to talk about what a good mother you are, and talk about what fantastic kids you have, and talk about what a wonderful life you do, which you do often. And we want you to get 100% out of the problem-solving mode. 100% out of the problem-solving mode. Because the problem-solving mode is always the blocking mode. It's always the resistant mode. The problem-solving mode always clouds your receptivity. And your receptivity is the only thing that you're reaching for. And you want to demonstrate your receptivity to your children so that they begin saying things like, Mom, why are you always in a good mood? Mom, why don't things bother you? And the answer is, because I don't like to be bothered. Yeah, but Mom, there's stuff around that just bothers me. Isn't there stuff around that bothers you? Probably, but I just don't pay any attention to it because I don't want to feel bothered. But Mom, what if there's something really big that you just can't not see? Well, I've been practicing not seeing it for so long that I just don't see very many problems. My life is so good, and I just expect things to go well for me, and things just do go well for me. And so that's just the way it's supposed to be. I don't know when I figured it out. I wasn't little and smart like you are when I figured it out. Maybe I knew it and forgot it. And now I'm remembering it, and I hope you never forget it. That's the kind of conversation you want to have with them. But I just started realizing that when I feel good, things go good. So I just started really paying attention to my mood. And I found out I can always control my mood. I can't control what's happening out there, but I can control my mood. Well, how? What if something bad happens? How can you look at something bad and control your mood, Mom? Oh, I can't. Can't look at bad things and feel good, so I just don't look at them. But Mom, what if they're right in your face? Well, they used to be in my face more, but the more I don't look at them, the less they come around. So stuff that bothers me becomes less and less, and I just get happier and happier.
Perfect.
But Mom, my teacher says, I know, honey, I know. Everybody sort of has a different way of doing this. There's lots of different people living lots of different things. There are people who have a lot of well-being and the people that don't have so much. I know that your teacher is really, really, really well-meaning. She wants so much. She wants so much for you to feel good. But that's really your job. You have to find a way to feel good. You can't, we all have to stop jumping through hoops for each other. Okay, Mom. Okay, you're asking for it. I'm going to test you a little bit to see how happy you can really be. And find out how much condition there is.
Oh,
this is this is, and don't you just love that? Don't you just love the idea of standing stable regardless of what's going on? You see,
I love the idea.
here's the thing. But how are you going to turn that vibration to a thought and that thought into a manifestation? How are you going to keep that momentum going? You keep that momentum going by beginning again tomorrow and beginning again tomorrow. There are so many situations where it feels like so. All right, Abraham, I accept that you are teaching unconditional love, and I want to experience unconditional love. So does that mean I turn my eyes away from conditions that don't bother me? No, it means that you find love that only let things that put you in the receptive mode for things you like. See, unconditional love, the reason that it is so important is because conditions will take you this way and 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 this way. But if you're reaching for the feeling, the emotion of love, if that's the manifestation that you're going for, in other words, you're not going for the manifestation of your child figuring this all out. You're just going for the manifestation within you of loving your child. Well, that's easy to do unless you mess it all up with the things that are bothering him. So if you're just going for the manifestation of love, that's easy. It's the most natural instinct that you have. So sometimes as we talk about unconditional love, people think that what we mean is you'll get really good at this. You'll get tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You'll get in sync with source. One who's connected to the stream is more powerful than a million who aren't, and then you will control the conditions around you so that you can feel good. A lot of people, that's as far as they're getting in this conversation of unconditional love. Where what we mean by unconditional love is, I want so much to be in concert with the source within me that I am in this experience and this one and this one and this one. I'm feeling for alignment. I'm feeling for alignment. I'm feeling for it and finding it. 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 So now I'm in the receptive mode. And in the receptive mode, I only have access to the conditions that match the receptive mode. I'm not controlling the conditions so that I can find more good ones. I'm tuning to the conditions. But I'm not doing it for the conditions. I'm doing it for the alignment. Can you feel the difference? Sort of?
Yeah, I think so.
Esther said, she sat out. We keep telling this story because it's the best one we have so far. Maybe you'll give us a new one. She's sitting out by her pool, enjoying the beauty of it. In so many ways, she feels intoxicated with the beauty of this moment. The trees, the pool, the statue, the moment in time. It was indescribably delicious. Mm-hmm. And then she had a thought. That pool is a condition, and that tree is a condition, and that redbird is a condition, and that statue is a condition, and this weather is a condition. Abraham, I'm not so sure that I'm not having a conditional moment of ecstasy. And we said, Esther, think about it. You were in that mood and then inspired to go out. You were in that mood. And in that receptive mode, you saw all of this differently than you've ever seen it before. Another way of hearing this, someone said, Abraham, how does one get rid of doubt? And we said,
that's a good
before it starts, which is totally annoying. But what we mean by that is get up and tune yourself to alignment, which isn't doubt. And then hold yourself in the frequency of what feels good, and doubt will never come. But if you wait till it comes and then you try to get rid of it, all you do is validate it. and practice the vibration of it longer. Can you feel this?
Yeah, but
We're out here on the leading edge.
It moves so fast in your head. Like, how do you get in front of it before it comes through?
Well, at first it moves so fast, but in time you will be out ahead of it. And you know that because you just described to us blocks of time, large blocks of time, when you were out ahead of it. And so what you start doing, you start noticing how that felt and how that felt. And you start making associations with what was going on within you.
Yeah.
In other words, your mood matters more than you ever thought that it did. But most people think that their mood is controlled by conditions. That's conditional love. If you don't let your mood be controlled by conditions, if you control your mood because you mean to, and that's what we were encouraging you to demonstrate to your children. If every time they get upset, your mood is affected by their upset, you're not teaching them the thing that you most want to teach them, and you're not practicing it for yourself either. But when you have a great day around others who aren't, now you know you got it. You see?
Ooh, that's a challenge sometimes.
Argue for your limitation.
So is there like a phrase?
It's a challenge sometimes when the momentum is there, but it's not a challenge when you're there. It's not a challenge when you're tuned in. It's not a challenge when you're on that vibe. It's not a challenge when that's who you are. It's not a challenge when everything that is you is flowing through you.
No, that's true. But the days that I'm like exhausted, no sleep, I'm really crabby by the end of the day.
Well, now you're trying to get rid of doubt after you've got it.
No, but
yes, you are. You're trying to get rid of it after you got it. You can't get rid of it after you got it.
So that's just
can't get rid of it.
So just go to sleep.
There's too much momentum already going. Don't waste your time. Say to your kids, "I'm in a bad mood. Just deal with it.
Okay.
This is the way it's going to be for the rest of this day. All right?
Well,
I don't blame
good to
you.
know.
It's just how I feel. It's just how I feel. It's how you behave. It's how everybody behaves. My goal is to wake up tomorrow happy and see how far into the day I can go and still feel happy."
Okay.
And after a while, you'll get so good at this that you won't be inspired to turn on the television to see the thing that could take you down. You won't be inspired to ask the question of a friend that could take you down. You won't be poking and prodding and probing and not minding your own business. You'll be minding your own business. And what is your own business? Your mood is your own business. It's your only business. Alignment to source is your only business. Carrying on with who you really are is your own business. Meeting everyone with the fullness of who you are in this moment is your only business. It's not your business to know what's bothering your child, because you'll never get to the bottom of that, and you'll teach him that he should keep looking for what's wrong.
Okay.
And that's conditional conditioning, you say. Yeah.
That's good. One more little question.
Yeah.
If I could just have like a little, like I'm very much my imagination is very strong. My mind is really fast. I need a phrase that if I feel like I'm veering off alignment, that will just bring me back. Could you think of just like a word or phrase? I've tried. All right, I'll try that.
Oh, you weren't that far gone?
No, not that far. If I'm not that far gone, I'll try that next time if I'm in the car and the kids are, I'll try that. But if I'm just veering, if I'm good and then I'm just like some doubts,
I'm doing good. All is well.
Okay, so
Everything's
just
working
general.
out. Everything's working out. It has to be general.
Okay.
It has to be general because you can't get to the specifics without amplifying what's going on. Mm-hmm. Everything's all right. It's working out all right. I'm doing good. Things are getting better and better. This is fun. It gets easier and easier. I love those moments of clarity. I know what it feels like to be tuned in. It's natural for me to be tuned in. I was born tuned in. It feels good to be tuned in. I get there often. I know what I'm doing. I love understanding all of this. This is not a difficult thing. I'm getting better and better at it. Life is good to me.
Okay.
So much evidence of well-being in my experience. So many things for me to appreciate. Sometimes easier to see than others, but always there for me. I like being in this time-space reality. I like having all of this contrast around me. I like the opportunity to keep becoming more. I like closing that gap. I love knowing that my evolution is eternal. I love knowing that there will always be something more that I'm reaching for. I love knowing that I get to launch rockets and that my inner being stands there with it and calls me toward it. I like knowing that I recognize my path. I like being so aware of my moods. I'm so glad my children are sensitive. That means their guidance system is still working really well. I love knowing that I'm sensitive. That means my guidance system is working well. I love knowing how important my mood is. I love finding control of the only thing I have control over, which is my mood. I love knowing that there's a vibration which translates to a thought, which translates to emotion, which that translates to words. And I love knowing that once it's over here, that's not the time for me to deal with it. When it's over here, that's the time for me to deal with it. I'm learning subtle awareness of where I am. I'm aware of my mood, and I'm amplifying the mood that feels good, and I'm de-emphasizing the mood that doesn't feel good by giving attention to the things that do feel good. I'm not going to make a big hairy deal out about this anymore. I'm just going to accept that things are good. I'm going to expect good things to come to all of us. I'm not going to overparent. I'm going to encourage their own guidance system. I'm going to demonstrate through the clarity of my example. I'm just loving life. I have such a good vibrational footing. Everything around me is just working so well for me. I just can't write enough lists of positive aspects. So much is going well for me. I love tuning myself to the well-being of this time-space reality. I love knowing that we're all out here on the leading edge. I love knowing how much source is out here with all of us. I love knowing the source is right here with me in this moment, with an opinion about me and everyone else involved in this moment. I love tuning to the frequency of source. I love knowing what source is feeling about this. I love loving, but I don't hold myself responsible for what others are doing. I only hold myself responsible for how I'm feeling. And I'm getting a really good handle on this. And every day, life helps me to get a better handle on this. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on, bring it all on. And what you're saying is, bring on what's a vibrational match to me. Now, you don't have to tell the universe to do that, because the universe is bringing on what is a vibrational match to you. And then you say, thanks for pointing that out. Thanks for letting me know what I am a vibrational match to. And when you look at your world, you must be doing really well. Look at what's going on around you. Look how well it is all going. And you and the person before and the person before, you're sort of perfectionists. You're wanting to get this right. And we say, you can't not get it right. Start enjoying it where it is, and it gets righter all the time. But start blaming yourself for not getting it right, and then it begins tipping the other way. You got to be nice to you first and foremost. Yeah. You got to soothe you. You got to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. You got to call yourself a good mother. You've got to call yourself an effective parent. You've got to call yourself a tuned in, tapped in person. You are, you see. Mm-hmm. Emphasize that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.